The Scott, the thumb drive.
Oh, that.
Well, Tara told me that
I told
she was gonna
Tara,
bring
I
it
said,
to,
she didn't need to do it, it's the same exact plan.
so.
Water with the spray, everything.
Yeah. Oh, I see, yeah, clean water.
I can't see it in here, but the siding's all, it's nice color, it's multicolored.
That goes with this, right? Sometimes do. So what's the neighborhood to say and everything, but on our, I don't know, the put a lot of they have
I got that note here.
in their application.
Okay, so we're gonna postpone the meeting.
Yeah, we can postpone the adoption of the resolution.
Okay. Good. Thank you, sir.
It looks like they have siding.
Any batteries?
Where's the batteries?
Oh, good, I thought I just seen it popping up down the bottom.
The siding we're buying, we have to come back. Yeah, he's.
What size batteries? Supposed to have batteries in them.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, good, thank you.
She did, because like she called me, but
All of that,
in the middle of doing it.
either or.
Yours and,
Because the proximity of the chicken coop.
Jill, I think it is.
We are streaming.
Although I think water.
Now, once you go down and hit that bottom right-hand corner, that puts it on live, right? The last step that you're,
Yeah,
okay.
start streaming.
No, is this, what is this related to?
This is related to the Lorenco.
Leila? Oh, hold on, yes. I got him. Thank you.
Yes.
Where is
Just
that,
if you can
Kathy?
make a mental note when you're having your meeting, we have Tom McKay and Steve, both terms expired.
Okay.
I don't want any,
I just heard about Tom, but yeah.
yeah. But that's it. I mean, yours too, but
Yeah,
that's a normal one, yeah.
Right.
Do you have any issues on it?
Well, I think, you know, they have some issues with
You could probably pull it a
side
little
yard
bit.
setback. Glad to hear that. Just the variance, and then the chicken coop is supposed to be 50 feet from the side yard, and
Right.
it's 37.
I just want to get you to roll back just a little bit for a minute.
But it's not permitted, it's not permitted necessarily.
I just didn't want somebody to walk on that side of the podium. Okay. Thank you.
So you can sit here and put your
Permitted, but they must be 50 feet from property, so they approved to do that.
There's a pre-existing area.
Not as far as anybody can figure out.
I read through this, find out I need more.
Oh, I don't have an agenda. That's mine. No. Right now. Is this ours? Can we share this?
No, that's the one I right
Oh,
over.
I don't have one. Remember?
Existing house, this is the new house.
No. I don't need it.
Yeah, it's more, the front yard setback.
This is the one I have like over there. It's on.
That's,
Here it is.
and the side yard setback.
No, you have the plan. Sorry, hold on.
Good?
Yes.
Call to order, please. Will everyone rise for the national anthem? I mean, Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May I have a roll call, please?
Mayor McLaughlin, absent. Mr. McKay?
Here.
Mrs. Gilmore?
Here.
Mr. Tricoci?
Here.
Mrs. Kelly?
Here.
Mrs. Baggio?
Here.
Mrs. Tyndall?
Here.
Ms. Costco?
Here.
Mr. Bradley?
Here.
Mr. Murphy? Mr. Novarita? Absent. And Mr. Krollpfeifer?
Here. Do we have a quorum?
Yes. He's fine.
Excuse me. There will be no new business after 11 p.m. We did the roll call already. Items for new business. The first one, case 19-09C R&M Development. We have a request from their attorney to postpone it to the January 4th meeting. And they will have to renotice it to everyone. And I need a motion and a second to postpone that meeting.
So move. Second.
Okay, any questions on the motion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Gilmore?
Yes.
Mrs. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Bradley?
Yes.
Mr. McKay?
Yes.
Mr. Jacochi?
Yes.
Mrs. Baggio?
Yes.
Mrs. Tyndall?
Yes.
Ms. Costco?
Yes.
And Mr. Krollpfeifer?
Yes. Case 22-12, York International Corporation. Counselor, come forward, please. It's Michalski, is that correct pronunciation?
Machowski.
Machowski?
Correct.
Sorry.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. John Machowski, Fegri Drinker, on behalf of the applicant here, York International Corporation. This is an application for amended final site plan with an amended use variance and design exceptions. The property in question is 6 Berry Drive, which is Block 96, Lot 2.04. It is in the I industrial zone. A few points before I get into my presentation with my witnesses. York International was started in York, Pennsylvania in 1874 and is one of the world's largest providers of HVAC equipment. They have highly valued their Hainesport location, which they've had since 2000. We're here tonight because York needs to slightly expand its outdoor storage space by shifting the existing fence in the storage area by 30 feet towards Berry Drive, an approximately 4,260 square foot expansion. The expansion is the most efficient means that will allow York to move some additional product through its facility as the current outdoor storage area is maxed out. And the proposed project allows York to do this without needlessly increasing impervious coverage at the site. The outdoor storage area is and will continue to be used to store commercial rooftop units that when installed sit atop commercial buildings. There's no concern for protecting these items from the elements. And a unit is typically stored for only a matter of days or days to weeks before it's shipped out. Because the outdoor storage area is not permitted in the zone, a use variance was previously granted in 2000 by Resolution 2000-10 for the existing outdoor storage area. We're now seeking to amend that variance. The minor expansion will also result in a slight reduction in car parking area. The car parking area currently contains 27 spaces. After this, it will contain 25. As you'll hear from our professionals tonight, from an operational standpoint, 25 is plenty of parking than what is needed. I should also note that the design exception was previously granted to permit less parking spaces than what was required by the zoning code. This occurred during the prior approvals, and so we're seeking to amend that design exception as well. Lastly, in preparing for tonight's hearing, we also discovered that there's potentially one other design exception for the fence, the height of the fence, my apologies. The existing fence is 12 feet in height. That was a specific condition required by this board during the last round of approvals back in 2000. However, it appears that there might be a fence height limitation here of 8 feet that was imposed after that approval. So to the extent a design exception was needed for that, we would seek that as well. The witnesses I have here tonight are our engineer and our planner. First, I will go to Jason Fogler, who is a PE at Mid-Atlantic Engineering Partners, and then Kate Keller, a professional planner at Phillips Price. We received the following review letters and have no issue with comments therein. Mr. Miller's engineering review letter dated December 1, 2022. Mr. Taylor's planning review letter dated December 4th, 2022, and an approval letter dated November 29th, 2022 from the Hainesport Township Fire Official. One more thing, though, before I call my first witness, I did want to address comment number 5 in Mr. Taylor's review letter, which pertains to an issue with the outdoor storage area located on the other tenant's side of the building, that other tenant being Pods. Mr. Taylor indicated in his letter that the pods containers are currently stacked and extended into the required parking area, both of which are not permitted. We have discussed this issue with the landlord, and the landlord advised that it has had several discussions with both pods and the township regarding this. The landlord has said that the bottom line here is that pods has elected to ignore the landlord's request to remediate the situation, and the township has to this date decided not to take any action in that regard. So, we're kind of in a tough spot here because I represent the tenant on one side of the building, and the landlord has advised pods to fix this, and pods has not done that. So both the landlord and me on behalf of York view this issue as a separate enforcement matter between the township and pods, and if consequently perhaps the landlord, to enforce the condition of that prior approval. And this really should not have any bearing on our application. So unless there's any questions at this point, I would call my first witness.
Would you bring both of your witnesses up to be sworn in by our counsel?
Absolutely.
Before we get started, members of the
Is it right?
governing body should step down.
Yeah, it's a use.
You're disqualified. If you're sitting in for a committee member, you should step down.
Really?
Yes.
We'll do it, okay. That means Mr. Gus can't hear this case. I never had that
No.
happen before.
Because he's in for,
Do we still have a quorum?
yes, 7.
And before we proceed, forgive me for something, usually under roll call I do this. I wanted to welcome Mrs. Evans to the meeting tonight, and Mrs. Gilmore, who both won election and will be around next year bothering us. No, just kidding. Okay, thank you, Council. Proceed.
Oh, would you swear them in first?
Yes.
Could I have the names of your witnesses, please?
Sure, Jason Fogler and Kate Keller.
Give me the first one again.
Jason, last name is Fogler, and the second one is Kate Keller, Keller.
Okay. Raise your right hand, please. You swear or affirm the testimony you give tonight will be the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Thank you.
Excuse me, sir. Do you want to take it over to the other side so that the public can see it online?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Yeah, I know her. Paul's working.
Jason, can you give the board the benefit of your qualifications and experience, please?
Sure, my name is Jason Fogler. I'm with Mid-Atlantic Engineering Partners. I've been there for the past 12 years. I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state of New Jersey since 2013. I've been practicing civil engineering since 2006. I have a bachelor's of science in civil and environmental engineering from Rome University.
I would ask that the board accept his qualifications as a professional engineer.
You haven't appeared before us before that I know of, have you?
No.
No, okay. Any questions from anybody on the board? No. If not, it's acceptable, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jason, would you please explain what this exhibit is?
This is the amended final site plan, which I have marked as A-1. It's showing the existing conditions of the site as well as the proposed improvements. The existing parcel is an 11.05 acre flag-shaped parcel on the north side of Berry Drive. It's known as 6 Berry Drive, also known as Block 96, Lot 2.04. The existing site contains an existing warehouse building with parking facilities on both the east and west side. The applicant occupies the eastern portion of the building and has access to the east side parking lot, which contains 27 existing parking spaces, and also contains a 215-foot by 140-foot outdoor storage facility. As mentioned before, the outdoor storage facility is enclosed by a 12-foot high chain link fence that was under the original 2000 approval, and we'd be seeking relief for an 8-foot max to allow the continued use of the 12-foot high chain link fence. The chain link fence also has privacy / screening purposes, which is necessary for screening the equipment in this area. The proposed improvements are to shift the existing fence line 30 feet south towards Berry Drive to increase the storage facility by 4,260 square feet. We also propose to extend the current fire lane striping as well with the fence line. We would be proposing to continue using a 12-foot high chain link fence. We would also be proposing a knock box or similar feature that the board seems sufficient for fire access that was mentioned in Mr. Taylor's comment letter, comment number 4. We would also provide details for the proposed gate and any Knox box facility for that as part of the resolution compliance or upon approval.
And with regard to what you just stated, the 12-foot chain link fence was a condition of the prior approval, correct?
Correct.
2000 resolution?
Yes.
While you're talking about the fence, what's the section that you want to be 12 feet rather than 8 feet?
Look, currently the entire fence is 12 feet around.
Yeah, but the
existing. And then
extended,
we're expanding this out 30 feet to also, so that it would still maintain 12-foot high along the whole thing, which is extending it another 30 feet.
just for how, what is it, about 4 feet that you're talking about?
We're extending it 30 feet out.
A 30, okay,
Yes.
30 feet?
30 feet
You
from
want to
its
go
current
from
position.
8 to 12, so it's contiguous,
Well, it's going to be continual 12 around,
right?
yes.
Okay.
Could you just trace with your finger the new
Yes,
fence line?
so it would be 30 feet out.
Okay.
And can you just give us some background on the site operations?
Sure. York currently utilizes a maximum of 15 employees at any given time on the site. They operate between the hours of 7:30 a.m. and 5 o'clock p.m. Any activity within this outdoor storage area is conducted within the same business hours, 7:30 a.m. to 5 o'clock p.m. And essentially, the warehouse is used to store HVAC equipment, condensers, rooftop units, furnaces, parts and supplies, and it's stored there for site distribution. The outdoor storage area is used for rooftop units where they're typically double stacked. When deliveries are coming in or shipments are going out, typically equipment's moved in and out of the warehouse area or the outdoor storage facility using like a standard forklift equipment. And by shifting the fence 30 feet, we're going to lose 2 parking spaces. That would reduce the parking spaces down to 25 spaces, but the applicant to operate sufficiently only requires 20 spaces.
I have no further questions, so open up to the
Any
board.
questions from the board members? Okay, call your next witness, sir.
Okay, with that, I'll call up our planner, Kate Keller, to put on to discuss the variance and design exceptions.
Hi, everybody. Good evening, Chairman, members of the board. My name is Kate Keller. I'm a professional planner, principal with the firm of Phillips Price Greigel Laney Hughes LLC, based in Hoboken.
And Kate, can you give the board the benefit of your qualifications?
Sure. I'm a licensed professional planner in the state of New Jersey and a member of the American Institute of Certified Planners. I've been licensed for about 8 years and have been practicing as a planner for about 12 in total. I've appeared before approximately 75 boards across the state, including in Burlington County.
But not Hainesport.
Not Haynes. No.
Yeah, you put us on your list.
Thank you.
Anybody have any questions about qualifications? Hearing none, acceptable. You may proceed.
Thank you, Chairman, appreciate it.
Kate, just walk us through the testimony on the variance and design exceptions, please.
Sure. So as you've heard from our counsel and our prior witness, we are seeking an amended use variance, amended site plan approval, as well as some design exceptions related to the fencing and the parking. So, there is already a use variance in place on this site that was granted in 2000 related to the outdoor storage, which is not permitted in this zone. The use itself is permitted in terms of, what York is doing on the property. It's an industrial zone. It's used for warehousing and with a small wholesale component, but all of that is permitted in the zone. It's strictly for the outdoor storage. So the existing outdoor storage takes up the rear of the property. The applicant's now looking to shift the fence that screens the outdoor storage 30 feet north towards Berry Drive. So since this is technically an expansion of a prior D1 variance, we are once again requesting D1 variance approval. And again, just to reiterate briefly, the design waivers were previously granted as part of the prior approvals for the number of parking spaces on the site, and specifically here, we're seeking to reduce the number of parking spaces related to York from 27 to 25 spaces. That would be only on this side of the property, only serving this tenant. So just in terms of both the D variance and the relief we're requesting, we have to meet the positive and negative criteria. We have to advance special reasons for the D1 variance and demonstrate that the site is particularly suitable and that the relief would promote the general welfare. And we also have to meet the negative criteria for both the use and bulk variances, which is that we have to demonstrate that the variance would not result in a substantial detriment to the public good or cause a substantial impairment of the zone plan or zoning ordinance. So for positive criteria for the D variance, I'll just go through that briefly. This is essentially, it's a new D1 variance technically, but we're really looking to amend a prior approval where the board, at that point determined that the proposed use of the outdoor storage, which is really there to support a permitted use on the site, is particularly suitable for this property. Again, this is an industrial use in your township's industrial zone. It's surrounded by like uses on this side of Berry Drive. Its township border is also on this side, so you have Lumberton Township on the other side of Berry Drive. And then at this time, we're looking to expand this use in a limited manner that will really just serve to increase the efficiency of the site without increasing, really the intensity. The applicant is they're proposing to continue to store these commercial rooftop units. We're not concerned about protecting the units. They're meant to be outside. And because of that, they're also impractical to store indoors. They'll continue to be screened by fences on all sides, the same way that they are, so it will not be visible from neighboring roadways. And it's really here to continue this use of the site in a more efficient way without providing, without needing more building area, without providing more impervious surface, et cetera. So I think in this sense, it advances several of the purposes of zoning. It encourages municipal action to guide the appropriate use of lands to promote the public health, safety, morals, and welfare. That's purpose A. We're really allowing for safe storage of products that are intended to be stored in this industrial zone. C, to provide adequate light, air, and open space by increasing the outdoor storage. It provides a practical place to store equipment without needing additional buildings or additional impervious coverage on the site. And then finally, it continues to provide, purpose G, continues to provide a sufficient space in this location for industrial uses that are intended here. This is a continuation, of a successful, longstanding use that's been in the township for over 20 years, it's a tenant in particular. I'm just going to briefly just touch on the other relief that we are requesting, and then I'll hit the negative criteria briefly. With regards to the fence, the fence is there, it's 12 feet. It was condition of approval, and we're just seeking to keep that the way that it is. We noted in the ordinance, that the ordinance 104-53G does require, any time a fence is altered or reconstructed, it does technically have to be 8 feet in height, so we just wanted to just make sure we had our bases covered there. But the 12-foot fence is appropriate for the screening, and, relocating it 30 feet closer to Berry Drive will be really barely perceptible given the size of the site and the surrounding context. In terms of the parking, going from 27 spaces to 25 spaces. You've heard from testimony tonight that 25 spaces is adequate to meet the needs of the user. There's no new employees or proposed or anticipated as a result of the increased outdoor storage. And, again, this is part of the building that specifically this tenant, this applicant controls. So, they're not sharing it with anybody else. This is just their parking that they have control over. They also, the larger loading and circulation aisles on the site will remain intact. So there's plenty of room for all of the, their deliveries and any sort of pickups and drop-offs and everything that already goes on this site today. So in that sense, it's really impractical to add more spaces here because it would really result in additional impervious coverage in an area where it's just not really necessary. In terms of the negative criteria, overall, this would not result, in my opinion, in a substantial detriment to the surrounding area, to the township as a whole. We're looking, this is a site that's isolated within an industrial area. It is and will remain, at the same level of traffic that it has been. No additional employees or visitors are anticipated as a result of this expansion. No increase in the product inflow or outflow because of that. No new impervious coverage, and really minimal to no visual impact because of moving the fences. And then with regards to the zone plan and the intent and purpose of the zone plan and zoning ordinance, this is a specific use that's really going to support what's already there, which is a permitted industrial use, and it has functioned safely and successfully on this site for 20 years. The applicant will continue to screen it. Applicant will meet all of the safety requirements, the fire code requirements of the township that were mentioned in the letters. And it really, it keeps the industrial use where it's meant to be in this area and allows the applicant to stay on this site as they wish. So in my opinion, it does not substantially impair the intent and purpose of the master planner's zoning ordinance. And that's really all for my direct testimony. I think this is really, it's technically a D1 use variance, but it's really minimal in nature. And so we just wanted to make sure, come here, that we got all of our bases covered with regards to the fence and the expanded use.
Can you address paragraph 3 out of planner's letter?
Sure.
Second half of that paragraph deals with the theoretical inadequate parking condition that could come up in the future. Are you prepared to just to comment on that?
I can actually comment.
Yes, we discussed this, but I'll let our counsel.
Yes, we would comply with that. So if that situation arose, we certainly would work with the board and the town to remediate it.
So if inadequate parking should exist in the future, you agree that you will do at the town's request whatever is necessary to mitigate it?
Correct.
Thank you.
And Kate, I'm sorry, I had one more
Yes.
question. Compliance with the fence height provision is also impractical as it would reduce the desired screening effect of the outdoor storage area, which is a condition that was put into the prior approval. Is that correct?
Yes, the 12-foot high fence is appropriate. It screens the actual, those rooftop units we were talking about. 12 feet is adequate to screen them. 8 feet is not, and that's why it was put in place to begin with, and that's why we're looking to continue that.
Even though, the reason you're saying that is it's chain link fence, but it has slats in it.
It has like an actual, it's sort of like a mesh, is it? Oh, it's slats, sorry about that. Yes, it's chain link with slats in it,
So
yes.
It's more than a chain link.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, like you can't see what's going on behind there.
Okay. And I hate to be redundant, but can somebody just show me there, because I have the map in front of me here, exactly where the fence is now and where you're extending it?
Sure. This is the fence now. You see where my pen is?
It's marked on the diagram.
It is marked on here. It's light, it's a lighter back there, and then it's being moved up here. You can see where probably it's on your site plans as well, there's like a darker hatched area in the fire lane. That's the length that the fence would be moving. So it goes from where the fire lane ends up 30 feet scaled. So that's where we're losing the parking spaces on the one side. But it really is just this kind of like strip across there that would be the new outdoor storage.
I have no further questions.
Okay, any questions from the board? Our professionals, any comments or questions?
The only question I have is the slats that are currently in there, are they in good shape? I mean, is this an opportunity to make that nice again? It's not, I haven't driven by it, to be honest with you.
I think it's the applicant's intention that everything will be appropriately screened. So if that, you know.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, it's torn, it's torn, I know how they get weather beaten, and, okay.
Right, it'll be it'll be a new fence area, so that section will be all brand new.
But I'm also talking about the older area that's been probably ripped and torn or, you know, weather beaten or faded. Is that an opportunity to possibly, you know, make that nice again?
Yeah.
What about
You know what, why don't I call up, this is Representative of York, just so he can answer some of the questions you might have.
All right, fair enough.
This is Tom Smith from York. We just swear him in?
Sir, you swear or affirm the testimony that you give tonight will be the truth, whole truth, nothing but truth, sir? Got it. Yes, I got it. I do. Okay.
And Tom, just say your name for the record and also what your position is. with-
Tom Smid, SMID. I'm the area director for York in the Northeast. So to answer your question, yes, the part of the fence that's going to be moved up is going to be brand new with new slats in it. And then we're going to refurbish whatever slats and the rest of the fencing needs to be refurbished.
That's my question, just because they get beat up over time and.
Yes.
You know, they fade, and
Weather
then you put
beaten.
new ones in, they don't match, and it would just look, it's an opportunity for the town to just kind of sharpen their pencil a little bit in that area.
Agreed.
That's all I got.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, might I ask a question?
Sure.
So, staff went out and observed the site, and we took photographs, and it appears that it's generally very neat. I guess the question I have is, do you need more space than what you're asking for? Because it seems like there's a lot going on in that space on a regular basis.
How much?
Oh, sure. It's not like my store manager, he always wants more space. No, actually, we spent quite a bit of money last year making the inside more efficient with shelving, et cetera. So I think we're good, but we've always wanted, for the last couple of years, we've wanted to expand that outdoor area. So yes, you're right, there's a lot going on there. You know, we bring product out, wait for customers to come to load it. Sometimes they don't come, so we have to move it back in, so it gets pretty crowded back there. So I think we can survive with what we have. We like the space, we like where we are.
Okay, I just, you know, I hate to see you keep coming back here if you don't
Yeah.
need to. That's really the goal. Generally speaking, you know, it's a nominal increase, it's a nominal decrease in parking. I think they've agreed that they would satisfy parking requirements if we required them to. I just would like some clarification. Are you going to do a breakaway gate as was before, or a Knox box? You talked about that, but did you make a decision about that, or is it going to be an either or?
Do you have a preference, Tom?
I don't, whatever the council wants, we'll do.
So I guess
For the fire department.
maybe if you speak to the fire department about that, I guess we'll have to leave that sort of open in the resolution. And with respect to the 12 feet, I mean, I think that's, you know, reasonable, certainly.
Okay.
So the emergency entry is going to be left to the best judgment of the fire marshal.
Right, so they can either ask for a breakaway gate, or they can have a Knox box.
Right. And they'll just have to amend the plan to show whatever is ultimately.
Absolutely.
We'd like the 12-foot dimension.
And then you
shown
won't
as
have to come back for any other approvals. Right?
well. Correct.
Okay. We have folks on
Yes.
the line. Well, let's hear public comments from the people who have called in first, please. Do we have any?
There are 3 online callers, but I do have to preface that we were having some issues with the microphone, so they didn't hear half of the application. So I don't know if they have any questions or not. See, somebody just... Okay.
No questions? Well, while we're waiting for them to think about it, we'll turn to the public. Do you have any questions, comments from the public? If so, raise your hand and step forward. Seeing no hands raised and hearing nothing from the folks online, I will close public comment. Board members, what's your pleasure with this application?
Chair, any questions from the audience?
Hey, they didn't wake up.
No one's done.
No. Yeah, I gave him 3 shots.
You did. Very kind of you. So I'll move to grant the D1 use variance as proposed, which in my motion will include granting 2 design waivers, one for the fence height and the other for the parking space.
I'll second.
And this is subject to the applicant's agreement on the record today to the various conditions that were discussed. So that's my motion.
Okay, is that acceptable to you? Okay. So I have a motion.
Jumped the gun a little.
What's that?
I jumped the gun a little.
That's okay. We have any questions on the motion from board members? If not, may I have a roll call, please?
Mr. McKay?
Yes.
Mrs. Tyndall?
Yes.
Mr. Jacochi?
Yes.
Mrs. Kelly?
Yes.
Mrs. Baggio?
Yes.
Ms. Casco?
Yes.
And Mr. Krollpfeifer?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Great evening.
You're a good candidate. Okay,
This is existing right here, and that's proposed, so they're literally using 2
the
spots.
next case,
Boy.
do you have a question, sir? Our attorney over there, the man behind the map.
Oh, okay. Just swung around. I can tell you that.
They can't interrupt him now.
Touch the wire.
Mr. Agostini?
Fernando and Teresa Lorenco, please, step forward. Counselor Coleman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, Chuck Petrone for Tom Coleman, the attorney for the applicant this evening. The application before the board is for property located at 1903 Arc Road, known as Block 110, Lot 12.02 in the RR5 zoning district. We are here this evening to request bulk variance relief associated with the construction of a single-family dwelling to replace the existing dwelling located on the property that will be demolished. The application is also addressing variances that are required for other improvements, a detached barn/garage and chicken coop that were made to the property without first obtaining the requisite permits. The property is approximately 5.85 acres in area, measuring 127 feet by 2,000 feet. It's deep but narrow. There are presently 4 non-conforming conditions existing on the property. The first being lot frontage of 127.11 feet where 300 feet is required. There's no change to that, and the application does not impact the lot frontage. Lot depth of 2,002 feet where 381.33 feet is the maximum permitted based on the frontage of the property. So obviously we have an existing lot, 127 by 2,000 feet, it's an existing condition. The existing dwelling also has non-conforming front yard and side yard setbacks, less than the 125 feet front yard setback and the 50 feet side yard setback that are required. The relief sought this evening by the applicants are a side yard setback for the new dwelling, 50 feet required, 33 feet proposed. the 33-foot side yard setback is actually greater than the side yard setback for the existing dwelling. The non-conforming front yard setback of less than 125 feet will be made conforming because the setback proposed for the new dwelling exceeds the 125 feet required. And there is a lot line setback for the chicken coop. 50 feet is required, and the chicken coop that was erected on the property is 37.5 feet. So this evening, I have as witnesses the applicants, Teresa and Fernando Lorenco, as well as their niece, Susie Cardozo, who may help in translating. English is not their first language, and sometimes it gets lost in translation, so their niece is going to be helpful this evening and translate for them, as well as Lawrence DeVitro, our professional planner. So if I can have the witnesses sworn in collectively.
Counselor Kingsbury?
Who's the translator?
I am.
You are. All right, let me take you first, because
Sure.
this is a little different. You swear or affirm that you will accurately and faithfully and truly translate any statement made by the applicants, regardless of whether you think it's in their best interest or not.
I do.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give tonight will be the truth, nothing but the truth, something but? I do.
As well as, did you say I do? I didn't hear you. Okay. Just wanted to make sure they were on the record.
Both of them?
She had her hand up. My uncle doesn't speak English at all. My aunt will be the one doing primarily the talking, because she does speak some English.
Is your aunt the co-owner of the property?
The
Mr. and Mrs. own the
Yes.
property?
Mr. and Mrs. own the property.
Okay.
I know there was some information presented to the board in their packages today. I think there was elevations and floor plans, which were requested by Mr. Taylor in his review letter. I think that was submitted. We're also relying on the approved wetlands plan that was previously provided, the survey of the property that was submitted with the original application, prepared by William Robbins, as well as some photographs that were provided. I'm not sure if the board members have received the photographs, Paula, that were provided.
Yes.
They do, okay.
Yes, they were emailed to them in color and then,
Okay, thank you. And I do have copies if any of the board member needs the additional copies for this evening. So my first witness
Will you
is...
specifically be addressing the septic issue?
I can tell you right now how the septic issue...
Well, put it in your, but make sure you cover it.
Okay, yep. My first witness is Mr. DeVitro. If you can identify yourself for the record, please.
Certainly. Good evening, everyone. My name is Lawrence, so I go by that way. I am the president of Land Dimensions Engineering, which is a land use consulting firm. We've been in business for 40 years. Our address is 1 East High Street, Glassboro, New Jersey. I am a licensed professional planner by the state of New Jersey. I'm also certified by the American Institute of Certified Planners as a professional planner. I've been practicing for 30-plus years and testified before boards numerous times during my career. I have previously testified in front of Hainesport many years ago, back in the 90s. My education is Drexel University.
I think Mr. DeVitro is a little light on the 30-something years because I first met him 36 years ago when I started practicing.
Okay. Any comments or questions from the board?
We have any?
members?
No.
If not, sir, is acceptable.
Thank you. Larry, as it relates to the existing improvements, can you identify them on the plan and identify what plan you are using?
Certainly. So we did not prepare the survey and the proposed dwelling for the Lorencos. We were retained to do a survey and a wetland delineation of the property. So we've actually surveyed the property, we've located the improvements, we did the wetland delineation. We filed for a letter of interpretation and certification by DEP, and is currently under review in their offices. But what's kind of going on with the state right now is they're very backed up, so certifications in wetland review are taking anywhere from 12 to 15 months with our experience. So it's been a while with them for at least 8 months. Anticipating approval. As far as the property, this is the exhibit of our survey, and we'll flip this over. Because of the length of the property, we've shown it in match lines, so this is the front section, continues and continues. As was testified, the property is 127.11 foot frontage on Arc Road, and extends for a depth of 2,000 feet, so it just continues as a narrow lot. The property is in the rural residential 5 zone, which permits single-family residential dwellings, so the proposal is consistent with your zone plan, your master plan for the permitted uses. And the purpose of the application is to grant the variances that was outlined, one for the side yard setback for the dwelling, and one for the chicken coop, which is located back at this point of the property, approximately, I'll tell you the distance back. The dwelling itself is 80 feet or 70 feet off of Park Road, which is substandard to your required minimum 125-foot setback. Beyond that, the garage is 600 feet back from Park Road. This is the garage. It's approximately 12 by 30 foot, 300 square foot, 12 by 25 feet, 300 square feet. And then an additional 170 feet back beyond that is the existing chicken coop located in this area of the property.
And if you can identify the location of the proposed dwelling, I think we can flip to the
Yes,
Robbins survey.
It's a smaller exhibit, trying to show you, try to highlight it. This is the existing dwelling. Currently, the side yard setback is 10 feet, where the required is 50 feet. The proposed dwelling is set back 150 feet and would be 50 feet compliant on one side and 33 feet on the other side. So that represents the first dwelling.
And that's the enlarged detail from the Robbins survey that was submitted with the application.
So the old house will be torn down?
The old house will be torn down,
The house
as
will be
noted on the
further
plan,
back.
and the new house set back behind the location of the existing dwelling, more in conformance with the side yard setback requirement than existing.
Wait, just, while it's up there, where is north on the map?
North is this way. If you're looking from the property on Arc Road, north would be to the left.
Okay.
Arc Road is running north-south.
Got it, okay. I see it on the map here, just noticed it. I had it folded over. Okay,
Is the chicken coop called that because it houses chickens, or is it just called that to make it sound charming?
No, it actually houses chickens. The ordinance does permit keeping of fowl in the RR5 zoning districts for properties 1 acre or larger. Obviously, we are 5.85 acres, so we satisfy the 1 acre requirement. There is a lot line setback requirement for the chicken coop of 50 feet, and we're requesting variance relief. We're at 37.5 feet for one side to the lot line.
I know the ordinance allows fowl in that area, but I don't remember whether the ordinance has any limitation on quantity.
I truthfully did not see a limitation on quantity, but when the property owner testifies to identify how many chickens they have, and
Yeah, that might be helpful.
that, we'll get to that. So I'm just going to ask, since he's the variances have been identified, the two that are requested, and your testimony is that the new dwelling will be more in conformance with the zoning requirements in the RR5 than the existing dwelling?
Yes, I'll go down all the zoning requirements under the R5, minimum acreage is 5 acres, the property is 5.85 acres. Minimum required frontage is 300 feet. As we stated, the existing frontage is 127.11 feet. Maximum or minimum lot depth is permitted at 381.33 feet. The lot extends to 2,002 feet. Front yard setback is currently is required at 125 feet. Existing dwelling is less than that, 70 feet. This dwelling would be demolished, and the new dwelling would be set back at 150 feet, so it would exceed the minimum front yard setback. Minimum side yard is 50 feet. We will make the proposed, again, the dwelling will be demolished. The proposed dwelling will be set at 50 feet on the northerly side, within 33 feet on the southerly side, where the existing dwelling currently is 10 feet. So we're improving on the side yard setback condition. The rear yard is 100 feet. Obviously, the rear yard is much greater than 100 feet. And the impervious coverage is permitted at 20% with 5.85 acres and the 2,000 square foot dwelling, well below the 20% coverage. The chicken coop side yard requirement for the accessory structure is 50 feet, and we're proposing it's existing, pre-existing at 37.5 feet.
And as it relates to an applicant's burden for C variance relief, can you provide the board with the reasons why you feel that the C variances that are requested can be granted?
Well, for consideration of the C variance, one of the primary issues is that the site, particularly in exceptional difficulty, results causing an undue hardship, as well as the proposed deviation from the variance would not be a substantial impact on the public good or a substantial detriment to the zone plan of the township. As it's proposed, the proposal is to improve the conditions. The front setback will be brought into compliance. The side setback will be reduced. Because of the narrowness of the lot, if you were to conform to the two 50-foot side yards on either side, the dwelling would be substandard, would be less than 27-foot width, would not be keeping with the design of the residential setting that exists there. As proposed, the proposed dwelling is more centered on the lot. Setback, we continue with the gravel driveway coming off of the property, and will be an improvement that's consistent with the zone plan for Hainesport Township for the RR5.
Right. As it relates to the wetlands plan you referenced earlier in your testimony, has the DEP approved the wetlands plan?
They have not. It's been under review, and we've had communications, and we're anticipating that they will approve it, but we have not received the actual certification as of yet.
So the LOI has not been received?
Correct.
But the plan that's before the board was the plan that was revised consistent with the last comment that the DEP had?
That's correct.
And they indicated at that time with those revisions that a letter of interpretation would be issued?
Yes, they did.
Okay. But unfortunately, as of tonight, we're still waiting?
Waiting for the administrative documentation.
All right.
We should, just to highlight that, but this, and it's probably very difficult for you to see, but I'll follow with my pen. The property, this line here, and the line on this side is the limit of existing wetlands on the property. There's another section at the rear corner that we're not anywhere near. The opening between the two sections of wetland is where the existing driveway exists. So that is not wetlands for the driveway.
And the location of the new home is outside of the wetlands area?
Yes, it is.
And the garage and barn that towards the rear of the property is also outside of the wetlands?
The dwelling, and then 600 feet from the road back is the garage that's out of the wetlands, and then an additional probably 900 or 800 feet back is the wetlands.
Okay, so the chicken coop, the garage, and the proposed home are all outside of the wetlands?
That's correct.
And the beehives too?
And the beehives as well?
Okay.
Yes.
If anyone, I don't know who can testify this, the property owners are property to the north and to the south. What is that? Is it residential?
Well, as Mr.
Home.
Taylor in his review letter indicated, the property is surrounded by west, north, and east are residential uses, also in the RR5 zoning district, and the adjacent parcel to the south operates a firewood tree management business.
That's the property to the south?
According to Mr. Taylor's review letter, yes.
Does anybody know what's been going on with that property? Because there's been an awful lot of turf moved to the south.
That is my property.
Oh, okay. Well, you could comment on it later.
That's my term, yes.
Okay, thank you. Didn't mean to get ahead. But I did visit the property, so I know what we're talking about. I just have to say that I went there.
Yep, understood.
I have to say that I went there also.
I drove all the way back to the beehives.
Oh, boy. I would.
I have no further questions for Mr. DeVitro, the board, or any of our
Board members
professionals.
have any?
Is he going to speak to the septic issue?
The applicant will actually speak to the septic as to what they've done previously with respect to the septic and what's going to be happening if this board were to grant an approval.
Does your expert, at least from an accurate expert's point of view, is he able to show us where the septic is or is going to be?
Again, this is the survey that was prepared by Robbins that was submitted with the application. The proposed existing dwelling is here, and what I'm pointing to is the existing septic system. Proposed dwelling touches on where the existing septic field would be. Under the current regulations, to develop the new dwelling, the applicants will have to construct a new septic field that meets the design standards and all septic dwelling. So that septic field will have to be decommissioned and removed.
Can this site meet current septic requirements? Can a design be created to meet current septic requirements on this site?
The design, we did not prepare the design, or not involved with that, but to build a new septic system, you need to get a permit from the County Board of Health. It would have to meet today's current design standards.
But you're not involved in that in any way?
I can represent to the board based on what my client has informed me was early in the process, they talked to,
Decker Septic in Southampton.
and
Decker Septic in Southampton, and being that we didn't know what the situation, we were nowhere near coming in front of the board to, see, we needed approval first, obviously, we know the cost involved with getting a new septic. But Decker said that when the time came, he would help us do everything that we needed to do, get permits, go in front of the Board of the Health to get a new septic installed. The septic that is there was working when my aunt and uncle bought the place. However, they want to do everything new and have everything running accordingly until up to code.
Thank you.
so basically they met with the septic company, and he recommended, instead of designing it now because he knew that variances were going to be required from this board, to be economically responsible, he said, wait until you get the variance. If you don't get the variance, that's one thing. If you get the variance, then it makes spending the money, investing in the design, application process, and vacating of the existing septic system much more tolerable.
So is the current house livable and occupied?
It's not occupied.
All right. Could it get a certificate of occupancy if one applied for one?
My uncle's saying it wouldn't even pass the height regulation. If their ceilings are only 6 feet high, he says he doesn't think that it would even pass for a CO.
Basically, when they purchased the property, they didn't have the intent to reside in the existing dwelling. There was their intent to obviously demo it and construct a new dwelling. Mr. Lorenko.
You covered my next couple of questions. The plan would be to demolish the existing house.
Absolutely.
And the existing system and start from scratch.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Does the barn stay in the garage?
Right now, the garage, no variances were required for the garage. Obviously, it was constructed without benefit of necessary permits, and we're trying to, if we have to, after the fact, apply for building permits and have it, inspected, we have no problem with that. We have no problem complying with any of the outstanding comments in Mr. Taylor's review letter. He asked for additional information to be shown on the plan, and that's not a problem. We will absolutely comply with that. We have some additional testimony based on some of the prior comments with respect to, obviously, the chicken coop and the beehives. So we can go into that. I will ask Mrs. Lorenko to confirm, their niece Susie has already confirmed my representation with respect to the reaching out to the septic company and determining what would be required if this board were to grant approval, and they understand that, the existing septic system will be abandoned through the process with the Burlington County Board of Health, and a new septic system installed, again, through the process with the Burlington County Board of Health.
Okay.
While we're on that subject, Mrs. Taylor, can you look at paragraph number 6 on page 3 of your letter? And the new home is proposed within the existing septic field.
It encroaches on the septic field if you look at the plan, so it actually is not far enough away. It actually is partially on top of the existing one, which is why we asked the question.
So
Clearly, it needs to be relocated.
There's going to be a new septic.
Yes, I understand that. That's how they explained
No,
it.
but it won't be in the existing, linked into the existing one, right?
That's my understanding from their testimony, yes.
No, we're going all new.
All new.
All new.
And I do have a question. Is this served by public water or is there a well?
There's a well.
And do we know where that is?
Yes. It's in front of the home.
Okay. The existing.
It's in the front yard.
Between
Yep.
Ark Road.
Between Ark,
Thank you.
yes.
So that would be far enough away.
If I can.
Can I
With-
just interject one more question? The architectural, Mr. Chairman, if I could, I just ask this question. Thank you. There's a garage door shown into the basement. Is that planned for vehicles?
No. It's just for storage.
Okay. Thank you.
Teresa, obviously you and your husband own the property. You may want to come a little closer.
Yeah, so they could hear you, because you're tiny and you speak loud.
And how long have you owned the property?
5 years.
Since roughly 2017?
Yes.
And when you purchased the property, you purchased it with the intent to build a new home, to knock down the existing house?
Yes.
And When you purchased the property, was there another structure other than the house that was located on the property?
It was the garage.
There was
Old, yeah.
an old garage?
Yeah, an old garage. Garage, I mean, it was something there, yes.
Okay. Is it roughly the same size as the garage you subsequently built?
Same place.
And what type of condition was that garage in? Was it,
Old.
okay.
And the roof was in.
When you say the roof was in, the roof was
Yes.
caving
Yeah,
into the
caving in,
structure?
yeah.
Okay. And you obviously, built the garage?
Yes, we
Without
did.
permits?
Yeah, because it was there. And
Because-
we just.
So you felt because you were replacing in the same spot, same
Yeah.
size?
Yeah, same
That you
thing,
wouldn't need a
yes.
permit? Okay.
Yes.
And your husband constructed the garage?
Yes, yes, he did.
And he's a tradesman?
Yes.
And he's also the one who drew up the
blueprint.
elevations and floor plan that were submitted?
Yeah, yeah, he did everything, the blueprint.
And the garage, what will it be used for?
Gonna be for storage, for the food, for the chickens, and for the lawnmower, and the quad we have there too, for us to take the trash, to help us with the trash to the curb.
So basically, you're not using it for any commercial
Oh,
or
no,
business
no, no,
use?
no.
So it's all,
No.
all residentially related?
Yes, I'm about to retire, so
And
I'm not in
obviously-
business.
And obviously, an almost 6-acre parcel requires some equipment for maintenance of the property?
Yes, that's it.
And that's what that structure will be
Yes,
used for?
yes.
Okay.
If I may know, just so I want to reconfirm, they have no intent in using the garage for any vehicles? Just so
No.
we are all on the same page, they plan on parking the cars in the driveway, not in the garage?
Okay.
Yeah, she wanted to make sure that that was understood.
And obviously, we're talking about the chicken coop and beehives. The chicken coop that's there, you constructed it?
It was my husband.
Okay. When I say you, I mean
Yes.
you and your husband?
Yes, yes, we did, yeah.
Okay. And you actually have chickens?
Yes, we do.
And how many chickens do you have?
Have about 40.
40 chickens?
Yes.
Okay, it's a lot of eggs.
May I ask what kind of chickens?
I don't know. I don't know.
The chickens.
Yeah, they kind of all look the same.
We like,
Honestly, and they give us good eggs.
yeah, I mean, we have them, it's funny to have the eggs, many colors, and the kids, of course, they love to go there and take the eggs out and to see the colors of them. We have many colors of the eggs.
Are the
It's more
chickens
kind of like
different
for fun.
colors? Are the
Yeah.
chickens different colors? They're
Yeah.
different colors, I'm not sure. Anything about the breed in terms of if that's even a thing with chickens?
It is.
Oh, it
So,
is?
yeah.
Okay.
It's funny, they
Chairman,
look,
if I could just extend this, is it okay? This is, we're talking about it.
Yeah, go ahead.
The size, do they vary in size? Like what?
The chickens?
Yes.
we have a few sizes of them.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank
we
you.
have black, the black ones are a little big, and the light brown ones, they are a little big than the other ones. And the ones lay the eggs green and blue, they are small, they are a little small than the black ones.
And are there any males?
Just one, because they fight, so we just have to keep just one.
Thank you.
Lucky him.
What is the design for the future for containing the number of chickens?
We're not gonna go too higher than 4. It's just more for us, for the kids. We have grown kids, so it's just for us.
Never having raised chickens,
Yeah, we raise them.
I'd like to know, is the coop sized a limiting function or a limiting condition for the amount of chickens that you can have?
Oh, yes,
Oh.
it's enough.
Yeah,
It's
they live
enough.
like in a castle. I mean, those chickens have it made. They've even got a ramp to come up and down that my uncle built for them.
They sleep on the second floor, and they come down to eat on the first floor.
You see my point?
Yeah.
Poultry can create some real serious issues if they get out of hand.
Right.
Oh, no.
The size of the coop that exists now is sufficiently sized for the amount of chickens that you
Yes.
currently have?
Yes,
And
yes.
it's your testimony that you're not going to go above the number
No,
of
not the
chickens that you
40, no.
currently have?
We're gonna stay with the 40.
So less than or equal to 40 will be the
Yeah,
maximum
yeah.
that you will have.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask another question? Since we're on this line of questioning, how big is the interior space of the coop?
I'm
Ms.
not
Murphy?
sure. But they are outside every day.
I'm looking for both interior space and exterior space. That's my next question.
The exterior space, they say they have the 5 acres, so they are running, they are there
But the coop's fenced in.
inside.
The inside. The inside's 25 by 12 approximately feet.
Then has another part. Yeah.
E depois tem o segundo lado. Ok. E isso é mais ou menos quantos pés? Okay, and he's saying that the second level where they sleep is 12 by 10 feet approximately. A gaiola das galinhas é tudo com fence tudo atrás, and the chicken coop is all fenced in.
But they have free run?
Yes,
When we are there.
Of the fenced-in area.
and when my aunt and uncle are there, they're roaming around by my aunt and uncle.
When you're not there, they're fenced in.
Oh, yes, absolutely, at
So
all
they-
times.
When you're not there, they don't have free reign of the
No,
property.
never.
And they only are outside of the chicken coop when you're there to
Yep.
police them
Mhm.
and
Ms. Taylor, can you give us any
I can.
guidance on this
I can.
issue?
Yes. So Rutgers Cooperative Extension sets requirements for things such as this. And for various chicken sizes, it's 1 square feet of roosting space for a small chicken, 1.5 for a medium, and about 2 for a larger chicken.
Hence the questions about size.
Right, hence the questions about size. And then there's additional ideas about the amount of square feet for, and I'm looking at this, I'm looking at a reference now. But it sounds like for outside runs, a small chicken needs about 4 square feet, a medium chicken needs about 8, and a larger chicken needs about 10. And so if they're I don't know how often they're letting the chickens out to run, if that's an everyday thing or what, we'll have to try to vet that out. And we don't understand yet what the outdoor caged area is. And then, of course, there's issues with the manure and how they're managing that as well.
Right. I mean, clearly, as one member, in my mind, we've seen applicants here with 4-H program having half a dozen chickens, in the past, that sort of thing. But nothing approaching this in a residential area. And so I'm not sure, in my own mind, that we have enough information tonight to deal with that, to make sure that public health issues that could arise are appropriately dealt with. And so you know where I'm coming from. I'm not being harsh on the application, but I do see this as a problem.
Okay. If I may answer Ms. Taylor's question in regards to the chickens. So my aunt and uncle go to the property every day to feed the chickens and let them out and to make sure that they clean up after everything. My cousins also go there and get chickens. Eggs. We're all fortunate enough that we get to enjoy that. So they do stop on the property every single day to check on the chickens. Obviously, they did not know that if there was a limit for the chickens, and if that is the case, then we will do whatever it is that we need to do to make sure that we follow the rules according to what the requirement is. Our goal is to make sure that we do everything by the book.
There's no limit.
So the ordinance doesn't have requirements. However, there are standards that Rutgers University, through the cooperative extension, provides people so that they can manage their backyard flocks for disease, manure, space for the chickens, and how to manage the eggs and the whole, everything. Because clearly, with swine flu and other problems that can come up, it's best for the birds that they're not overburdened in one area and things like that.
will the co-op come to the location?
There's
or-
several online, there's reliable information online, and yes,
Okay.
if you call them and they can come out, they will, yeah.
Rutgers Extension Services, I've been told, is very, very cooperative.
Yep, and The applicant wants to be cooperative as well with respect to the regulations and would have no problem if this board were to grant an approval this evening condition and satisfying the condition as to whether or not the space that's out there is adequate enough in this third party's eyes for the number of chickens that are there and the size of the chickens that are there.
Or
And all things chicken related.
but if this third party says 30 chickens are the most, then
We will submit the documentation to you, and we'd have to find a home for the other 10 chickens.
okay.
Yep, without a problem.
Keeping in mind, Mr. Chairman and Mr. McKay, based on your questions, that they indicated there's 120 square feet on the upper floor for roosting, and that's about 3 square feet per bird. So that's probably sufficient, and the 300 is also sufficient on the first floor. So that's without the outdoor area. They haven't testified regarding that yet, so, okay?
Anything else?
Any other questions on the chickens?
Just what's the pen area size? The fenced area?
Tio, onde as galinhas saem, tem toda a volta da casa das galinhas, quanto é que é mais ou menos os pés? Então, onde você fez o sensor das galinhas. Sim, sabe como você tem a coisinha toda à volta? Não, não, não. Por fora da gaiola, mais ou menos. É área. Não tem.
10 pés na frente, tem 10 pés na frente, tem 20 pés para lá.
E o é em frente, e do lado.
200 mais 12, 25, mais 250, 500 pés quadrados, eu penso que tem a volta.
Okay. It's about approximately 500 square feet, that's around.
That's the fence area outside the coop itself.
Yep.
It sounds like whether he knew it or not, it seems like he knows how much space chickens need.
He brought it with him from Portugal.
There you go.
All right, let's talk about the beehives. Obviously, you also have beehives located in the rear. Again, that's a fenced-in area.
Yes.
I don't know anything about bees, so I'm going to ask you to educate. About how many hives are there?
We have 7.
And they look like cabinets?
Yes,
Right. And obviously, the bees are all within the cabinets?
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And when you're processing the bee hives for honey,
Yes.
you do that inside?
We have to do outside. We have to do right there. We're not able to take them anywhere. We
Okay.
have to do there.
And you produce honey?
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
So it's fresh eggs and honey?
yes.
Okay. Do you sell any of the eggs or honey?
No.
So basically, it's for you and your family?
The family and I give to some friends.
So, but nothing that anyone's coming
No,
onto the
no,
property?
No.
Okay.
No.
And, I referenced or alluded to bringing it from Portugal. You obviously were familiar with chickens and
Yes.
beehives when you were in
Yes.
Portugal before coming here?
Yes,
And one of the, thoughts you had with respect to a property, 6 acres, was that you would have an area to bring the chickens and beehive, back with you, so to
yes.
speak.
Yes, was right.
And you don't have any issues, you're familiar enough with how to maintain and keep the bees?
Now I know how to do it.
Okay. Same thing with the chickens?
Oh, yes.
On a different aside, while he's looking for notes, are they happy with the Copa del Mundo result?
Yes, we are. And I want you to know, 4 years ago, I was about from here to you, in front of Cristiano Ronaldo.
Very good. Ramos did pretty good yesterday.
Yes, he did. He did amazing.
For the benefit of you folks in the back that don't understand soccer in the world stream, that's what we're talking about. Portugal they won yesterday 4-1 in this.
No, 6-1.
6-1, by the way. This guy
Yes, it
Ramos
was an incredible game.
was unbelievable.
And Swiss is neutral. There was no reason to score a goal in extra time. I have no further questions for the Lorencos, if any of the board members or professionals.
Any board members have questions of the applicant? Or professionals have any questions or comments of the applicant?
Ms. Newcomb is online, and I believe she wanted to participate.
Okay, I'm opening the public comment. We'll go to Ms. Newcomb first. Well,
Kathy?
she's part of a professional comments, I'm sorry.
Oh, she can hear us.
Can she hear us?
She's here. Kathy? Can you hear us? Oh, she's not connected to audio.
Okay, while we're waiting to clear up that, I'll turn it over to public comments of the people that are here. Anybody have a comment or a question, raise your hand and when acknowledged. Okay, yes, sir, come forward, please.
Sir, could you give me your name first, please?
Steve Scheinreich.
She sent Paula the questions.
That again?
Steve Scheinreich.
Spell the last name?
SCHEIM.
Why is it? Oh, she doesn't have, oh, she can't.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth, something like that?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Mr. Scheinberg, step to the podium, the microphone.
Yes.
And you said before, your property is directly, it's contiguous with this property, you're to the south.
I'm to the south, right, and that address there is 1911 Ark Road. I think it's block 110, forget the lot, I should know, but I'm here basically to, I guess, take issue with some of the variance. These good people, I want them to tear down the house, build a new house, make the place nice. What I'm against is some of the setbacks, because in here it mentions keeping of livestock. Right now they have chickens. I can't say I really have a problem with chickens either. But livestock, at that distance, I'd have a definite problem with that. I don't know if...
Maybe the applicant's lawyer can address that now.
I prepared the notice based on language from the zoning ordinance. They have no cattle, they have no intention to have cattle, but it was part of, from the ordinance, I believe, is when I prepared it. Remember, we prepared this, the notice was prepared a substantial time ago, and then we
Okay, you want to put you on speaker?
carried the application to get further information from the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection. So, but I just wanted to make sure that the notice covered everything. But there is no intention to have cattle on the property.
So as a condition of granting a variance, you'd agree with that stipulation that no livestock, hoofed animals would be
Absolutely.
there?
Could we take it a step further for this gentleman? It's chickens only?
Well, we have the bees.
I don't have a problem with the bees either.
Is that
I don't have a problem with the bees either. I was going to get to that. What I have a problem with is things being done after you give your okay, your blessing, that the people there just don't do whatever they feel like doing, like they've been doing. I have a problem with that. As far as that garage there, if Mr. Schloop, Bill Schloop, who is 95 and in Brightview Assisted Living right now, if he were here, he could validate what I'm saying. There was never a structure where that garage is, never. And Bill would, if he was here, he would tell you that he could remember when the trees were only 10 feet tall, and there was never a structure there. So that's my issue. This attorney says we won't have livestock, we won't have excess chickens, you won't do this, you won't do that. I'm concerned going forward that there would be violations, and I would have a problem with that being right next door.
Well, that concern is normal and understandable,
Yeah,
but we can't predict the future. We can only enforce the rules
Right.
when something comes up that needs enforcement.
yes, I understand that. The variance setbacks, especially for the side, I mean, it's not like it's 10 or 12 feet or something like that. They're asking for a big distance here, you know? And like I said, I have no problem with the house and all. I mean, these are good people, they want to build a nice house. It's great. I love it. They're going to tear down the eyesore that's out front, that's uninhabitable, and it's been there for many years. I'm all for that, you know? It's just the way about going about things, where myself and others have done the right thing and went about things. I've been improving my property. I've gone through the DEP like they have. I've got my LOI. I've got permits to build a pole barn. I got that. I got approval to build a home back there. It's 17 and a half acres. Of course, it's wider than what they're talking about here, the 127 feet. But I want everything to look nice. That's where I plan to live one day. And I don't need an eyesore next to me. Now, I can't stop people from how they handle their property. But if you go out to the property now, I'm concerned, and the concern is real. If you go out there, there is a lot of junk on the property. We all remember that show, Sanford and Son. Okay? I'm concerned with that. Now, they do try to keep things orderly and all, but there's a pile of metal here, a pile of plastic here, wood over here. I mean, there's a Jeep sitting out in the property. There's stuff all over the property. Somebody tell me here, whether they could tell me or the attorney tell me, this is going to get cleaned up once they get the house, and they tear down the old and get everything new, that there's going to be a place for this. Or put a damn fence up so somebody don't see it. And Jason couldn't make it. He's the other guy on the other side of them who bought Bill Schloop's property of 42 acres, okay? If he was here, he'd tell you the same thing I'm telling you. He's not here. Yes. He's got 2 young kids, so.
Well, you know, the applicants now have the benefit of wise counsel
Yes.
and the guidance from wise counsel. So one can only hope that that guidance will be effective.
Yeah. I still have trouble. I mean, I know you said you just put it in here, but shouldn't there be something in writing if we're not going to have livestock out there?
There will be.
Well, I asked counsel before whether he'd agree to a condition, and he said yes.
You know, like I said, I don't really care about the chickens, the bees. The chickens within reason, because like this lady said over here, there can be problems with birds. So, I've been around farming forever, so I know what I'm talking about here with animals and everything.
The board is trying to take into account your concerns.
And that's mainly why I'm here, but I wish them luck with the house. I'm all board on that stuff, and so is the other neighbor who is not. All right?
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate
I
it.
can comment on a couple of things. With respect to the materials and things that, sorry about that. With respect to the materials and things that are on site, the Lorencos are going to build the house themselves. Mr. Lorenco built the barn that's out there. He's going, he's a tradesman contractor by profession. When the pandemic hit and there was concerns about availability of supplies and materials, they started buying them at that time, in fear of the cost escalation, once they're able to start construction. But what's on the site is going to be used for construction, and when the when the new house is built, the old house is down, landscaping added, and people there 24/7. I think that would alleviate a lot of the concerns that the member of the public just expressed.
So you're representing?
I am representing that.
Piles that the public witness mentioned
Yes.
are actually construction material?
Yes, they are.
If, Teresa, you heard my representation to the board
Yes.
about with respect to the materials. Was my representation correct?
Yes.
And it's in accordance with what you previously informed me about?
Yes, yes. Everything we have there, we have to wait in case we are able to build the house. We're gonna use it. Whatever we don't use it, we will clean it up. We don't have that much time to stay there the whole day to work just on the land, and somebody told us that we're not able to touch on anything, so we're not able to do anything.
Not to make a joke about the chicken and the egg, but I have a question about the demolition construction. Which is coming first?
Você vai pôr a casa abaixo primeiro ou vai construir a casa
Primeiro
primeiro?
construir.
Primeiro construir.
Yeah.
First they would construct the home and
Yes.
then do the demolition.
Yes.
I don't understand that order, frankly.
Yeah, that's why.
This just sounds,
And then another thing, and not meaning to be argumentative with anybody, but the pictures that we have, I don't see a lot of construction materials for a big house in these pictures.
No,
Não vai ser construído uma casa grande, vai não?
no.
It's not going to be a very big home, but they also have materials, they have materials outside as well as in the garage stored.
But the
Well,
material,
needless to say, my question or my point is that, and it's to that other gentleman's comment with the contiguous property, this whole thing's got to get cleaned up. I mean, I'm looking at these pictures, and I wouldn't want to live anywhere near something like this with, looks like, you know, siding is off on the ground, some other stuff is on the ground, there's piles next to the barn garage. You know, I'm talking about these color pictures that I received. And I wouldn't want to live around that myself, and I'm not going to allow somebody else to have to get stuck with it.
You're going to clean up, you're going to clean up.
Yeah, well, and the reason they stopped.
counsel, let me make a suggestion. Hear me out.
Stop.
Yeah.
Hear me out.
Absolutely.
The board is clearly trying to help this applicant
Understood.
move along. The board is also obviously concerned about neighbors' comments. And there is consistency. One describes them as a pile of junk, the other describes them as construction material. Can't be both. And the order of sequence of construction, building the new house first and then tearing down an uninhabitable old house seems to be contrary to common sense, in my opinion. Why don't you consider agreeing to adjourn this matter to another day, to another meeting, January perhaps, and in the interim, come up with a staging arrangement that better clarifies what's going on here. Staging arrangement for construction, a plan to deal with these piles of either construction material or junk, depending upon who's describing it. Because all these complications have arisen tonight that were not obvious on the paper that we had before us, but they clearly have to be dealt with.
Thank you. If I can ask for a 5-minute recess so I can communicate.
Can should we allow Kathy to provide any comments
Yeah,
at this
I love
point?
Kathy's-
Okay.
I love Kathy's input.
Yes.
Okay,
This is-
Kathy?
We're still public comment, I'm sorry, this is our professional comments, this is our.
Right, there's
zoning
zoning officer.
enforcement.
Kathy?
Everybody, Paula?
Yeah.
Good evening, folks. It's Kathy Newcomb. Just a couple questions. One is quite important to me, that when I put this property in violation over a year ago, not once, but several times that I've been out to that back so-called garage, the right side of that garage, its own room with its own ventilation, there were being fowl stored in cages there. Are they still in that garage?
Oh, they had small little chickens stored in there, yes.
Are they in there now?
In the last dump? Yeah. They're babies, yeah.
Well, the reason I'm asking is it's supposed to be defined as garage, not a chicken coop, which has obviously different setbacks than a garage. When are they going to be removed and where will they be removed to?
Okay. They're gonna be removed to the chicken coop.
They are small.
Then will the ventilation come out of that room that was put in there illegally along with the garage?
Quer tirar, mas está a perguntar se vai tirar a ventilação da garagem, the ventilation. So if we need to remove it, they, you know, they have no problem removing it. They didn't know that having the ventilation with the windows would be a problem.
Okay, I'd like to, if that's the case, then I will inspect that when it is cleared out, and that'll be an approval on my zoning besides whatever is in the resolution, that's never supposed to be a chicken coop. It is supposed to be used as a garage only without any living space.
Understood, no problem. Should we notify you when it's done?
We're going to add that to, but I don't know if there's anything else that Ms. Newcomb has. Any other comments?
Kathy Newcomb, this is Tom McKay. My memory on the ordinance is not the best. I know we have an ordinance involving fowl, chickens, whatever. Can you give me any more guidance, or give us any more guidance on that ordinance from memory?
No, I mean, I should be fine.
Okay.
The other question I have is that how many garages are on the house?
In the actual house?
How many garages are proposed on the new home?
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question. ¿Cuántas garajes va a tener la nueva? Não, garagem. Você, na casa que vai fazer construir, vai ser sua casa, não vai ter garagem, só vai ter a garagem um basement. Okay, so their intent is just to have a door to go into the basement for storage.
So just one garage on the house?
That's it.
There's a maximum of 3, and that back garage already has 2 garage doors.
There's only going to be one.
I want them to be aware that they're at their max then once they build the house. I guess the only other thing that I would state is that the present home really is in deplorable condition. It definitely needs to come down, and something new needs to put up. So I would, I would agree this would be an asset to that property with the new house. But more importantly, I agree that back with all the trash and all the garbage and the Jeep definitely has to be cleaned up. That's a given.
Understood.
Ms. Newcomb, are they
Can you speak
currently-
into the microphone? Because I think she can't hear you.
Oh, she can't?
I
My
can't
voice
hear.
isn't loud enough?
Not for this situation.
Ms. Newcomb, are there presently any outstanding violation notices on the property, to your memory?
Kathy, did you hear that?
Now, what was the question?
Are there presently any violation notices on the property?
Yeah.
Outstanding, unresolved violation notices?
That's why they're in front of us.
All right. Are you able to tell me how many and generally what they're for?
It's an overall one for the garage, the trash, the use of the business, if that's there, and then obviously it was a denial as a bulk. This is not a violation, but the denial for a bulk variance for the house, as I normally do anyway. But they have been, I will have to say, they have been cooperative. I know this has been a very, very long and arduous situation for my office as well as the applicant. And the fact that they're in front of us does say a lot to me, because I know it's been a long time in trying to get everything that they needed.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, I appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman, with your
right, Paula, thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, she's done?
Yeah, she jumped off.
Yes, Mrs. Taylor.
So the ordinance says that no chickens are fowl or permitted on any lot less than 1 acre, which this is over 5. And it says no building or house or shelter of any fowl should be closer than any 50 feet to the property line, which is in our correspondence.
50 feet, not
50 feet.
not 100.
Correct, 50.
Okay.
And it says there should be no processing or slaughtering of fowl for commercial purposes.
Okay.
Okay?
Doesn't limit the number of chickens, though.
It does not. I can give you the reference that I was using. I sent it to Mr. Petrone, Mr. Kingsbury, and I also sent it to staff. It's called Helpful Hints for Small Flock Management. It's Cooperative Extension Fact Sheet FS 148 by Henry Bignell Jr., Ag and Natural Resources Senior Program Coordinator for Warren County.
All right, so we at least have best practices.
Yes. I didn't know why my phone was
And the
buzzing.
chicken coop is in violation of the town ordinance?
It is. It's closer than 50 feet. I think it's 37.
It's 37 and a half feet
Yeah.
on the side.
Well, what's the
That's what our letter
lot
was.
width?
It's 30,
And that's on the north side.
and then how much is it on, looks like the south side's a lot
The
more.
other side is conformal.
Mr. Chairman, we got a question.
Okay.
Okay, just, I'll get back to you just a second, okay? Yes. Let's clear up this issue.
Okay. You're okay with moving it?
We will do whatever we need.
We will relocate the chicken coop and provide the required setback from the property line. So we will, as any condition of approval, we will withdraw the variance request for the chicken coop and locate it on the property, in compliance with the setback requirement of 50 feet on each side.
Okay. All right.
But we still have,
The gentleman behind you has a question. Or comment.
Can I speak from here?
No, come on, we have to, everything has to be on the record, recorded.
Ms. Taylor, she said about the 50-foot setback you looked up for.
Can you restate your name, please, for the record?
Steve Scheimreif. Ms. Taylor said about the 50-foot setback for fowl. For livestock, it is 100 feet.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
But based upon their testimony and what Mr. Kingsbury will reflect in a resolution, is the applicant's testimony that there will be no livestock.
I understand that, but I just wanted to just verify that.
Yes.
I didn't leave here everybody thinking it's 50.
Different section, it's right
Birds are
above it.
different than animals.
Correct, it's
Right.
right above it, it says 100 feet.
Okay.
Thanks for the clarification. I'm getting to public comment. We're not there yet. We're getting there. Anything else, sir?
No, I think we're still in the middle of public comment, so.
Well, we're just getting ready to go there, so. Okay, yes, ma'am, you want to step forward, please? Need you to state your name and address, and Mr. Kingsbury will swear you in.
Hello, everybody. My name's Kathleen Garcia.
Could you spell your last name, please?
It's Garcia. And I've known the Lorencos for...
Excuse me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Raise your right hand, please.
Oh.
Swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Thank you.
And your address, please?
Actually, I'm in Moorestown, it's 426 East Madison.
That's right, you're still allowed to come here and speak your mind.
Thank you. I've known the Lorencos for at least 15 years, very well. And I just wanted to interject something tonight that really hasn't been covered. When they bought that house, their intention was to design and build it to accommodate Teresa's parents, who were in their 90s. And it's been a long time, now. Her father passed away in the meantime, and she had to convert her living room into a room for her mother because in their current home, the mother can't go up and down stairs. So her mother's in the living room or dining room, I don't remember which. But they're good people, and I think there's a cultural thing here. My husband was Cuban, so some things get lost in a transition or translation. They truly did not understand what the ramifications were of buying a wetlands, a designated wetlands. So that's why it's taken, partially why it's taken so long. And they're not doing things, it's innocent, you know, it's an innocence. So I just wanted to let you know that, you know, it's really become a hardship for them at this point. They're paying taxes on 2 homes. Just, it's taken an emotional, physical, and, you know, financial toll on them. So if there's anything that this committee could do to, you know, move this along for them, it'd really be appreciated. That's all I had to say. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Anybody online have comment, public?
There is a caller online, and Ms. Newcomb jumped back on as well.
Okay.
Nobody saying anything?
Hearing nothing, we'll close public comment. And ma'am, to your, the last lady that spoke, to your comment, okay? It's not our intention to make a hardship for anybody in this town. And we want to help as best we can, but it's just, you know, we kind of have the cart before the horse a little bit here. And we're trying to provide some direction and straighten out which direction we want to go. Okay? Counselor?
Mr. Chairman, if I can have a 5-minute recess to talk to my clients with respect to Mr. McKay's suggestion.
Something else you might want to, for whatever it's worth. In my opinion, I think the house should be demolished before the construction, and my reason is, I don't want to have them go through the time and expense of constructing a new house, and then something happens financially or whatever, and we have 2 houses sitting on a lot, and we have another problem, besides the barn that wasn't approved. Okay, so, I mean, we'd like to try to get this done as quickly as possible. And you haven't been at some of our other meetings, but there are many times where comments come from the board where we say we want to approve something subject to, and we leave it up to our professionals to follow up, so you don't have to come back again.
Understood.
Okay?
Yep.
Can I interject something? The only thing I would say is because they're utilizing the property and family is visiting, I don't know if they're using the bathroom in the existing dwelling or not. Are they using the
No.
facilities? No.
No.
Okay. Because it doesn't sound like they could have a letter of credit or a bond. It doesn't seem like that's a reasonable suggestion.
Okay. All right, 5 minutes.
Thank you.
got it.
Don't they have to take the LOI before they can do anything?
Just a mess.
An old one.
Well, the lady from yeah, she put her in there, right?
Like, it's basically a, they're actually outside. But they
It's
just.
wetlands change. Wetlands change. In our floodplain. You ask more about that.
I don't understand, they don't put it on this map. It's going.
There's gotta be some
Yeah.
kind of,
I mean, how do you bring it?
we're gonna do ABC and then CBA, you know.
This must be why, I'm looking at this whole thing.
It's pretty simple. I mean, he can tell he did it wrong. You know, it's pretty neat. My father's a technical drawer, so I had some jam down my throat my entire life. And I built warehouses, so I kind of know a lot. But here's my question is, you brought chickens in there. There's still chickens in there. Little chicks, but they're raising them. So they're not doing 40. They're doing
Yes,
40.
ma'am.
This time it's done.
Okay, now, we're going to have a correction on one.
They killed some for
I know. This one is, you know, we signed last one, just insert, you get it.
Half the reason why
You got it.
fresh honey.
Okay, cool.
And there's all this wetlands thing.
Exactly. You rotate it through.
The grading going on all over the place.
The teas are off. The tours, you can,
didn't say anything.
Yeah.
I didn't say anything.
No, I know it wasn't going to be the last one. I think it's
They are good.
They get the variance for it, the next step is getting the building permit.
Yeah.
The building permit.
Can you tell us?
They need the LOI and the
You don't clean
health
that.
department is going to want the LOI for the septic system.
They last. Unrefrigerated.
Unrefrigerated. Also, deep.
Once you wash the outside of that off,
All its protective coating on.
it has to go in the refrigerator.
That I didn't know.
Yeah, wetlands can change all the time. That's why the wetlands.
I've never had a duck here.
Good for seven-
I never had duck either. I've seen them. I saw them. I've had an ostrich.
Did you really?
They're really big.
And very seldom does
They
it
are
get
big.
wet.
Yeah, they are big.
Let's see, what's it equal?
Seldom does it
Something
get
like that, yeah, yeah.
That's crazy.
They can make one gigantic omelet. An ostrich egg.
I've seen them.
We have to break with a hammer.
They're hard to break them. I haven't had to break them.
I watched them go online one time.
Yeah, yeah.
They kind of peel the shell off and then dump it out. You know?
Okay. You know, I mean, I think I've been pretty candid with them. I mean, I told them right now, I'm not approving something that they're gonna build before they tear it down. I'm gonna say no.
Yeah. Because they have
How do you spell your last name?
537
I figured it wasn't going to be.
Yeah.
I figured you'd be here for a while when you do.
And what's your address?
Negative.
I live in Orange, 95 10th Street.
Right by, it's actually.
They go.
95
Yeah,
10th.
I hear you.
Yeah, they spell
Great, thank you.
Okay.
And that's Marlton.
Marlton, that's all I
If you,
They vegetable.
Okay.
Long-term name.
Yeah. That's okay. I'm
Go get Smith.
Something like a llama.
Ostrich.
No.
My friend had raising an
But he's got
English.
goats.
Okay.
You know, Gus, it's
Mr. Paul
hard.
Pfeiffer?
It's,
Mr. Paul Pfeiffer.
okay, back in business.
On the road.
Yes, sir, Counselor.
Mr. Chairman, I don't know if you want to redo roll call or just go right back.
They don't have
right,
it
go
marked,
into it?
but it's
We're
going to be
back.
somewhere
Okay.
here.
We will take the recommendation seriously, and we will ask this board to carry this particular application to the January meeting so we can address the comments and concerns from the board and their professionals that were raised this evening.
Question, Mr. Kingsbury, if we continue, there's no need for them to notice neighbors or anybody, anything like that, correct?
Correct. We need new notice necessary.
Don't have to renotice? Okay.
As long as you specify the date that you're.
It's not working
I
again.
think it's January 4th, isn't it?
Yes.
I think so. I don't have.
As long as it's the Wednesday, yes, is the 4th.
With regards to livestock, we're not going to approve livestock. We'll approve chickens and bees. That's the extent of it. Is that what they're, with them?
That's fine, we don't have intent on any other animals.
Can
No
we
little
say in a
lambs, no
resolution?
pigs,
Oh, no,
or
no, no, no.
goats.
I don't want to have a resolution go out to livestock, and 2 years from now, they've got goats or sheep or
If
something.
there's goats or sheep out at the property, it would be a violation of the approval.
So we can be specific and say chickens and bees, that's it.
I can put in a resolution whatever you decide the constraints should be.
Okay.
And also the representations as well as the testimony will be incorporated into Mr. Kingsbury's resolution. So, subject to the comments, and if there are comments, if the future is different than what they testified to, it would also be a further violation.
Okay. And what's their feeling relative to demolition before construction?
We're 99% in agreement with you.
Mr. Chairman, to move.
If there's any reason, if we can come, I don't think there's going to be a compelling reason to differentiate from the suggestion.
No.
Okay.
And Mr. Chairman, the town probably could require a bond or a letter of credit, and that probably would not be in there.
It would not be in their best interest to do that, correct?
Mr. Chairman, to move this along,
Yes.
I make a motion that, given the statements of council and their consent to adjournment on the record to January 4th regular meeting, I move to adjourn this matter until that time.
Okay, I'll second it. We have any questions on the motion? Roll call, please.
Mr. McKay?
Yes.
Mr. Colpfeiffer?
Yes.
Mrs. Gilmore?
Yes.
Mr. Tricoci?
Yes.
Mrs. Kelly?
Yes.
Mrs. Baggio?
Yes.
Mrs. Tyndale?
Yes.
Ms. Casco?
Yes.
And I would make a postscript to that, council, that it might be helpful if you could try to deal with the town over the outstanding violations and
I already have
Come up with a
notice to call
resolution.
Ms. Newcomb tomorrow.
thank you.
Because there's certain things, I think there was certain things lost in communication between Ms. Newcomb and the applicants as to what they could possibly do out of the site and not do. So I just want to be upfront with Kathy and say, we're going to do this, is there an issue?
Your involvement
I am
immensely appreciated and helpful.
And it
I've
would
been
be
dealing
very
with
wise-
Ms. Newcomb for a number of years now in both this town as well as other towns.
Your comment about keeping Mrs. Newcomb happy is very good.
On point.
Well, I am well aware of that. And sometimes when I don't hear from Kathy, that's a good thing.
Good move.
And call Monday as opposed to tomorrow.
Well,
Monday.
Okay, thank you very much.
for your consideration and happy
May
holidays.
I also make a
Thank you,
comment
you
to the
too.
January 4th meeting? We have a reorganization meeting that starts at 6:30,
Okay.
and then the regular meeting will start immediately
Immediately
following.
thereafter.
So it's
Okay.
not, so you want to be here before 7.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Same to you.
Okay, we're up to the minutes of the October meeting.
I make a motion that we accept and file the minutes of the
I-
October 5th, 2022 meeting.
I'll second that.
Okay, any questions on the motion? If not, roll call, please.
Oh, never mind. We need another
Are you
second,
sure?
please. You weren't here.
Really?
I'll
Wait,
I'll second the motion on the minutes.
That was done
wait a
already.
second.
Oh,
No, I wasn't here, so you had to be here.
Yeah, I covered
Okay.
I covered the meeting.
Yeah.
Leila wasn't here?
No.
I'm sorry. No, it's fine.
She
Just a
wasn't here.
second. I wasn't here. So, I mean, reverse
She's
it.
getting the polls confused.
Yeah, what's the abbreviation?
Okay, so that would be Mrs. Kelly,
yes.
Ms. Casco,
Yes.
Mr. McKay,
Yes.
Mrs. Gilmore,
Yep.
Mr. Tricoci,
Yes.
Mrs. Baggio,
Yes.
Ms. Tyndale,
Yes.
Mr. Crowpfeiffer.
Yes. Okay, next we have resolutions.
Mr. Chairman, on the Long Bridge resolution, there was a change on page 4, and I think everybody got a copy of that.
Yes.
The original draft said that the drainage was ending up in the wetlands, and that was incorrect. It's going into the Route 38 storm sewer system.
Okay.
So I changed that resolution. That's the only
Okay,
change.
now we're talking about Resolution 2022-13, and it has been amended. Page 4 has been amended per Mr. Kingsbury's comments. So I need a motion and a second to approve that resolution.
Discharges into where?
I'll make a motion to accept and approve that phrase that, the resolution.
That's the page it was changed. Like it-
Okay, any questions on the motion? Roll call, please.
I'm sorry, who seconded that?
Me.
Thank you. Mrs. Kelly,
Yes.
Mrs. Gilmore,
Yes.
Mr. McKay,
Yes.
Mr. Tricoci,
Yes.
Mrs. Baggio,
Yes.
Ms. Tyndale,
Yes.
Ms. Casco,
Yes.
Mr. Crowpfeiffer.
Yes. The other resolution is Resolution 2022-14, and,
Mr. Chairman, that's core,
right,
and I don't have any changes on that, but the attorney for core asked that the adoption, formal adoption be postponed to January because he and his engineer wanted to review it before it's adopted.
okay. So
So I make a motion.
Do we have to
No.
make a motion?
No, no
It
action.
just gets,
Oh, okay.
just gets done, okay.
Okay.
So no motion. Thank you, Mr. Kingsbury, appreciate that. Correspondence, we have 3 pieces of correspondence. I need a motion and a second to accept the correspondence.
I make a motion that we accept and file correspondence.
Second?
Motion and second, any questions? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Kelly?
Yes.
Mrs. Baggio?
Yes.
Mr. McKay?
Yes.
Mrs. Gilmore?
Yes.
Mr. Chakotay?
Yes.
Mrs. Tyndall?
Yes. Ms.
Ms. Casco?
Yes.
Mr. Bradley?
Yes.
And Mr. Colpfeiffer?
Yes. Professional comments. Anything else? Nothing else? Okay. Board comments.
Learned a lot about chickens tonight.
I would like to wish everybody here a, happy holiday and a healthy, happy new year.
Amen to that. Yep.
Okay, anybody else? 2 things. I wanted to thank Mrs. Gilmore and Mr. McLaughlin for being with us this year. Things will change for next year. And I also, I'm old-fashioned. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yes.
Well, happy Hanukkah to you too.
Yeah, I was gonna add that. I was even gonna say Good Yontif, but in any event, hope you all have a great holiday season. And any public comments?
I'd like to congratulate you.
Yeah, maybe.
You want my name first?
Name first and address,
Okay.
please, yes.
Marco Agostini, 112 Spruce Lane, Hainesport, New Jersey.
Thank you, sir.
I'd like to congratulate you for the way you conduct the professional way you did it. You really challenged those lawyers quite a bit. In fact, to the point where next time, instead of being a lawyer, I'm going to be a soccer player.
Good for you.
All right?
Okay.
Enjoy yourselves, and we'll see you again the next meeting, yes.
Don't forget to watch the World Cup Friday.
No. I was watching him before I came here, so I played for Temple a little bit, but when I played, they only had 35 members, 35 spectators. Now you got all this money and $1 million that they're doing in there, so what can you do? I won't be around the next time, but I'm not expecting to go too soon either.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your service.
We are now at the important part of the meeting called adjournment.
Make a motion for adjournment.
Second.
Aye.
All in favor? Aye. The ayes have it. We're out of here. Good night.
Yeah. But we have a motion? Done.
Nothing more serious. Have them before.
They're doing the best they can, but they're clearly busy.